Hi guys. So today we're going to talk about a topic that might be a little controversial. I might catch some flack for it. I'm going to try to not say anything too stupid, but it's always a possibility. Today we're going to talk about women and girls in drumming. And so not being a woman or girl in drumming, I don't have any personal experience, obviously, but all I can say is from students I've taught, from looking at the industry a little bit, and from sort of the analytics and demographics from my videos. When I look at the analytics for my channel, we'll just start there, I see a couple things. One is that almost all of my viewers, like 96%, are male. And two, they're all between the ages of like basically 18 and 44. It really steeply drops off under 18 and, it's sort of the 50s and up. Why is it all sort of adult men watching my channel? I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. But I have a couple of guesses. One guess I have is that basically that is reflecting maybe the main demographic of YouTube. It's sort of like adult men hanging out on the internet and watching YouTube videos. That's probably not the entire story. The next thing I could think of is that drumming in general, and we kind of all know this intuitively, there've not always been a lot of girls in like school band playing drums and percussion, and therefore there are not a lot of women when they reach adulthood who are drummers. It's not that there are none, there definitely are some, but if you just go to any school band program, you will see there's a disparity. Similarly with like flute and clarinet, there is a disparity the other direction, where not a lot of boys play the flute or the clarinet. Now, I teach a lot of lessons. I've taught lessons to, I lost count in the like 200 or 300s, I think, of students, because I've been doing this for like 8 or 9 years at this point. Students come and go. I've moved 3 times, so I have to get a whole new crop of students, and I've taught at different schools and sometimes music stores too. Sometimes the students sort of go with the location rather than with the teachers. So anyway, I've had a huge variety of people that I've worked with, and I would say that best case, 20% of my students were female. And so I think that goes along with the other things I said about, just generally who plays the drums and who plays what other instruments. Sort of, it must be a cultural thing, I guess. What is an acceptable instrument for a girl to play and what is not, or what appeals to girls socially or culturally. Generally, it's been about 20% at the high point. Now, this is to say nothing about skill, talent, ability, or interest. I think it somehow has to do with society. So just on a side note, there is one thing that I've ever noticed in my life where there's a male and female version of a way to do something drum related, and that's crashing the, handheld crash cymbals, concert, orchestral, marching band style crash cymbals. And I didn't know this until I was like 24 years old. I was teaching a girl how to crash the cymbals who had never done it before, and a female percussionist came up and was like, no, girls do it this way, and it has to do with men bring it straight back when they choke it, and women typically bring it in horizontally for, I think, what should be an obvious reason. Okay, anyway, other than that though, nothing about it is gender specific. Especially like drum set, there is no gender difference that I've ever heard of. So basically, again, I don't think it has anything to do with ability or technique that women are not watching this channel, that women are not taking lessons, and that they're not generally represented as drummers. So I will tell a story about my students. I've had plenty of great students who were male and female. I've had plenty of students who were not very good students and who didn't want to practice and who didn't focus in the lessons. But I will tell a story about the hardest working student I ever had was female, and she was able to process and learn effectively 3 to 4 full sheets of notation every single week that I would give her a lesson. She was in high school, so that helped with it, but I've had lots of high school students, male and female, and a lot of them, they didn't practice that much, or if they did, they'd have to come back and ask questions. Oh, I don't get this. This girl was absolutely on top of it every single week. She just flew through books. Like I remember we got Riley's Art of Bop, and she just plowed through that a couple pages at a time until we were in the end, just jamming through the song charts. So that's not an easy book. mean, it's not super hard, but like it takes some skill level to get to that point, and then to just plow through it page after page. I mean, it was incredible. I would give her rudimental solos. I would give her, you know, technique exercises. I would give her, you know, drum set beats in other genres. We would learn songs every time, come back, nailed it, to the point where I almost couldn't give her too much information. I'd be like, learn this page, learn this page, learn this page, and if you have time, learn this page. She would always have time. She would always learn the page. So that was amazing. So obviously, you know, that's a great example of, for everyone, how you should be learning the drums. If you're paying to take lessons, like, do the work, get as much out of it as you can every week. Okay, on another note, I mean, I think the reason maybe there aren't as many female students is because there aren't that many female professionals represented in popular media. Now, I personally know of at least 4, like I've met them and like shook their hand in person, female metal drummers. That's like the rarest of the rare breed, as a female metal drummer. They're all pretty darn good. I mean, they aren't there because they're female, they're there because they can play the music. But unfortunately, if you look at like metal bands in general, if you could make me a list of every metal band you've ever even like heard the name of and could remember to write down, I mean, most metal fans would come up with a list of 100, 200, 300 bands that they've encountered in their, you know, listening career. And how many of them have female drummers? Some people would be 0. And if you've encountered one, it might be 1 or 2, or for me it's 4, out of the hundreds of bands I've seen and listened to their records and come across on like YouTube and stuff. So it is super rare. However, some of the tightest drumming I've ever seen from like a black metal band by a female drummer. There's a thrash drummer from Canada who I saw on tour with a band from Brazil, kind of a weird coincidence, and she was the best drummer on the show, including me. I played it, and she crushed me in every category. And she was playing someone else's kit that was huge, because the dude was like 6'4", and she was borrowing it, and so it must have been even uncomfortable, and she still managed to crush it. So they're out there, but it's such a small percentage that I think students coming up don't see the role models, and therefore that doesn't dawn on them like, oh, I should become a drummer too. Now, I will say that like back in the day when I was a percussion student, there were like, I think maybe I think there was 1 female drummer who stuck with it for more than like a year in my entire childhood in like percussion sections and school bands and stuff. Nowadays, the sort of ratio maybe has doubled to like kids will encounter 2 females in their school career, and obviously it's different based on where you are in the world or the country or whatever. But like I teach a high school percussion section, there are like 12 percussionists in there, and 2 of them are female. That's a pretty good ratio, actually. And so it is increasing, and I think that so the kids now, if they grow up to be professional musicians, there'll be more female drummers, but it's going to be a slow grind to where it's sort of a 50-50 chance of seeing a female drummer. Anyway, I don't think I've shed any light on anything, but just to recap a little bit, I'd like to say that I think that women and girls can play the drums. I think that they are increasingly interested in playing the drums. I think that they are, in some cases, harder working or just as hard working as any boys or men playing the drums. But I think it's somehow weirdly still culturally less acceptable in some cases for women and girls to start playing the drums versus some other more feminine instruments. And I think the lack of role models and that weird cultural sensitivity to like what instrument you can learn to play is playing into that factor. I think that like anatomically and, you know, technique wise, there is no difference. So, you know, if you are one of the 4% female, you know, drummers who watch my channel, thanks for watching. Good job. Keep at it. Because the more drummers there are, the better drumming as a whole will get, and you know, more perspectives always helps that out. And then the better drumming gets, the better quality instruction there is out there, the better quality role models there are out there for men and women. And, you know, it makes everybody better at the drums. It makes music sound better to listen to. So anyway, thanks for watching. Kind of a long rant, but buy my books. Thanks.